So for about a week or so now, I've been racking my brain trying to come up with some way, any way, to start off this new spotlight about Xul. The guy's tons of fun to play and a great throwback to one of my favorite games, but even despite that, I just can't seem to decide on anything. In fact, I've been thinking about it so much that I think it's starting to affect me. The more I look at the screen, the more I start to see...
Spooky, scary skeletons and shivers down your spine. Shrieking skulls will shock your soul, seal your doom tonight.
Oh god, it's happening again! This is the Heroes of the Storm Heroic Spotlight, and today we're looking at Xul, the Necromancer.
Maintaining the balance is difficult, but you buff an angel here, nerf a demon there, and the job gets done.
You know, it's times like these that I love my work. I get to talk about another Diablo 2 character, and what's more, this time it's even my favorite class. No joke, back when that game was first released, the Necromancer was the first hero I ever tried to level up. And man, did I screw that one up. See, I was so unobservant while playing that game that I actually managed to make it all the way up to 20 or 25 without even realizing the poor guy had anything other than curses to level up. I'm dead serious. I didn't even see the other two skill trees the entire time. How I managed to walk and chew gum at the same time is nothing short of staggering, I promise you. Anyways, Xul. Since his inception into the Nexus, I've always wanted an excuse to get better with this guy. I played him a lot during his launch, but since then he's just kind of fallen off. I just found Nazebo kind of did his job better, you know? But I think they buffed him or something since those days because right now he feels crazy strong. And bless good old Blizzard because that's gone a long way to rekindling my love for one of my favorite classes in gaming. Now if they could just give us this sweet looking skin, I'd be set for life. Xul's passive is Raised Skeleton. Anytime a minion dies near Xul, it raises again as a skeleton under his control and helps push alongside other minions. Up to 4 of these can be raised at one time, and even though their health is on the low side, their damage isn't anything to scoff at. Seriously, leave this guy alone for a little while and suddenly you're up to your eyeballs in minions. It's a great passive, and honestly, even the style of it fits him perfectly. Skeletons by their nature in just about any source material aren't meant to be strong on their own. They're bones. You can take them out with a stick for crying out loud. But put them in a group and now you've got a problem. It's the same thing with Xul, and the best part about it is you don't have to do a damn thing to use them. The ability is entirely automatic. Just be nearby and the skeletons will do the rest. Now, it's easy to sit back and just let your minions do all the work. Hell, that was half the fun of the guy back in D2 before the frame rate started to suffer. But just in case your enemies get it into their head that maybe, just maybe, they should focus on the guy raising all the dead, Xul still has you covered with what I'm pretty sure was one of the game's first utility powers. These are the extra abilities that you can map out as you see fit, things like Ice Block or Bolt of the Storm. In Xul's case, he starts each match with Bone Armor, a very handy ability that grants him a shield equal to 1/4 of his maximum health for 3 seconds. This is great if someone suddenly decides to dive you or you find yourself getting choked down by some kind of damage over time ability. What really makes it shine, however, is that at level 1, Xul can spec for whatever kind of armor he wants, from an evade to some extra damage or even a slow. Don't take the slow. Just don't do it. Really though, this ability goes a long way to helping you stay frontline to get the most out of your kit, especially if you take a certain heroic, but we'll talk about that later. You'll find yourself relying on the armor a lot, so be sure you know what you're doing before you pick that first talent. On the offensive side of things, Xul's Q is Spectral Scythe. After a 1-second delay, he conjures a spinning blade at a target location that deals heavy damage to anything as it moves. The scythe will always travel back to Xul after forming, so be sure you're where you want to be to maximize on damage. This is among the most damaging of abilities in his basic kit, and really the only way he can poke enemies from a distance. The scythe combos well with his E ability, and it excels at clearing out lanes worth of minions. The only downside is how it's tied to the user. If Xul dies before the scythe reaches him, it fades out on the spot, meaning that your enemy might just opt to kill you rather than try to dodge it. But I mean, that's only if they can get to you, so try to make sure that doesn't happen. Your W is Cursed Strikes. Once activated, this ability makes your auto attacks deal splash damage in a wide arc for the next 4 seconds. Enemy heroes and summons hit by these attacks lose 40% of their attack speed for 2 seconds, making it very easy to trade against enemy heroes. Now, this skill right here, this is what makes the man a specialist. Sure, the skeletons help, but with this single ability, Xul is able to clear minions, push a lane, fight for objectives, and absolutely dominate in team fights. The amount of difference he can make with his damage, as well as the slow, can be unreal at times, especially if your enemies like to body up and clump together, and what's more, that slow can be pushed up to 75% at level 7. If you were ever looking for a way to kneecap that Vala or Xul Jin, this is it. Alright, so Something's really bugged me about Xul since his release, and that's his attitude. The guy goes on and on and on about death. Seriously, take 5 minutes and go listen to his voice lines. The man has one note and one note only. Yet he does stuff like this and this. What the hell, Blizzard? Where's the dignity? Finally, we move on to his E, and I'm pretty sure Diablo should be filing some kind of copyright claim here because Xul completely ripped it off. Xul's E is Bone Prison, and before any of you get on my case, like, what are you talking about? Necromancers always had Bone Prison, yeah, they did. I know they did, but they had a Bone Prison, not this Bone Prison. But see, in Heroes, his ability looks like this. Gee, I wonder which one this looks like. Anyway, after a 2-second delay, this ability roots a targeted enemy for 1.75 seconds, and deals a small amount of damage to them as well. The delay is very telegraphed, granting your opponent lots of time to run away, but don't mistake this for a bad thing. This ability can be used to scare opponents out of lane, or force someone off an objective, and because it shows for both teams, your allies can also make note of which target is best primed to attack. A good Chromie or KT could very easily blast a prone enemy hero, and that 2 seconds gives them ample time to set up a proper shot. Now, as I said before, this ability combos fantastically with your Q. Rooting an enemy and hitting them with the scythe is a great way to score some easy damage. The downside of it all is how close you have to get, but even then, Bone Armor does a lot to help mitigate the risk. All in all, this ability is a nice addition to Xul's kit, and a nice bit of diversity in what is otherwise just damage. So by now you're probably seeing the same thing that I did, that this guy and Nazeebo are pretty similar. Long range attack, some splash damage, a root. You might be wondering which character does it better, and for that the answer is a bit complicated. Xul is pretty consistent in a match from start to finish, whereas Nazeebo can grow to be a powerhouse with enough stacks of voodoo. One scales late game, while the other just kinda stays the same. If you want an honest opinion though, at least Nazeebo seems to have more than one freaking voice line.
Rise again and take your revenge, hero.
I sense death within this place.
Yeah, no shit, Xul. Stop reminding me! Now we move on to Heroics, and once more Xul has a few abilities that just tickle the nostalgia that is my core. Both are carryovers from Diablo 2, and both offer a unique answer to a different combat situation. The first is Poison Nova. After a short delay... Does everything this guy cast require a delay? Anyway, after a small delay, Xul releases poison bolts all around him in a circle that spread out over a wide area. Each bolt can deal massive damage that runs its course over a 10-second period. Now, because each bolt is treated as a separate object, they can be dodged simply by standing between them as they move. So to maximize this ability, you have to get in close. Really close. Using this in the middle of a confusing team fight is the real key to getting some solid damage out of it. Now, for all the damage this ability can do, you might well wonder why you'd need any other options. Well, this ability does have its share of drawbacks. As I mentioned before, it's easy enough to dodge with a bit of distance, and since the damage ticks away over time, your opponents have an actual window to try and heal out of it. You also have to get in close to get the most out of it, like I said, so if your tank isn't up to snuff, or God forbid you don't even have a tank, you might well get picked off before you can even use the ability. Xul's second heroic is Skeletal Mages. It summons a row of 4 undead sorcerers that attack nearby enemies and slow them by 30% for 2 seconds. The mages last up to 15 seconds each, and they'll continue to attack even if Xul himself is killed after summoning them. Now I love this ability, but just like with Poison Nova, there are problems to consider. The skeletons don't have much health or strength, so don't expect them to win fights all on their own. This is definitely more of a control heroic than anything else. It's also fail prone, and casting it in the wrong spot can grant you less than the maximum number of mages, so you have to be careful. I've even panic ulted once or twice and gotten only 1 skeleton for my troubles. So guys, is this too many skeletons? I feel like this is too many skeletons. See, it's weird because usually when it comes to heroics, I only have good things to say, but with Xul's, it's very easy to spot the bad. That doesn't mean they lack any value, but more that they shouldn't be used as a fight decider. The mages might give you numbers in CC, but at the same time you might want the raw damage that Poison Nova can give instead. In the end, choose your heroic according to the battlefield as well as your enemy team's comp. Try to watch how they fight and pick whichever one will hurt them the most in the end. So after all of that, how does Xul stack up? Well, as a hero he's great. A lot of fun with enough versatility to make him a welcome addition to most team comps. He's great at pushing lanes and even in the middle of team fights, but without his armor he's super vulnerable to being picked off. If you choose to roll as a Necromancer in the Nexus, you need to be especially careful when picking your battles. And honestly, I'm not sure what else to say. Maybe I just need a little more inspiration. Hey everybody, thanks for watching. I'd like to take a moment to give a big shout out to my artist Vixen, who provided the thumbnail art for this spotlight, as well as artwork towards the rest. She's awesome, and if you like her work, you can check out more in the description below. Making this gave me a lot of fun playing as Xul, and I'm absolutely dead set on getting in some D3 to check out the class even further. But in the meantime, let me know if you like this video with a comment or one of those nice thumbs up. As always, I'm looking for suggestions on the next hero to cover, so drop me a line. But until then, I'll see you in the Nexus.